Thank you for the work that Amsterdam has done in helping us to reach. I thank the Abu Dhabi Global Environmental Data Initiative for bringing us all here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The Clintons have been cashing in.
They took in something like $136 million.
But have they also been selling out?
Everybody walked away from the table that night with something.
The Clintons' influence is felt all over the globe.
Bill Clinton did a good job. There sounds like there's a but in there. No, there's a lot of buts.
Will it all come back to haunt Hillary?
We're talking about uranium. We're talking about the Russian government.
We will be subjected to all kinds of distraction and attacks. I'm ready for that.
Fox News reporting the tangled Clinton web. From Washington, D.C., Brett Baer.
Behind me is a city with more concentrated power than any in the world, Washington. And Hillary Clinton wants the top job in town. Ever since she announced her candidacy for president, her past has attracted new scrutiny. One aspect of her record is that she and husband Bill have spent years making millions and handing out even more to various causes. They say they're doing good work, but some people now claim their activities raise questions of influence peddling on a global scale. Tonight, we'll look at those charges. This is a story that goes around the world. We'll start in Haiti. January 12, 2010. Haiti suffers a devastating 7.0 earthquake. More than 200,000 die, and over 100,000 buildings and homes are destroyed. Within 4 days, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrives to survey the damage.
I want to assure the people of Haiti that the United States is a friend, a partner, and a supporter.
2 days later, former President Clinton was on the ground.
I hope it will be rebuilt in a much stronger and more sustainable way, and I think the Haitians want that.
Bill Clinton had previously been named UN Special Envoy for Haiti. He and Hillary had close ties with the country, even honeymooning there. Hillary's State Department, working with USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, would oversee America's relief effort. The government of Haiti set up the IHRC, Interim Haiti Recovery Commission, to coordinate. 2 men were named co-chairs of the IHRC Executive Committee, Haitian Prime Minister Jean-Max Bellerive and Bill Clinton himself. The idea was to not just fix things, but improve them. In an interview with Esquire, President Clinton had big plans, saying, quote, "Wouldn't it be great if they became the first wireless nation in the world? They could. I'm telling you, they really could." But it wasn't at all clear that the people of Haiti would be the big winners in the disaster relief gold rush.
Anytime there's a natural disaster anywhere, there is a lot of money potentially to be made in reconstruction contracts and relief contracts, etc.
Peter Schweitzer is the author of the new book, Clinton Cash, where he investigates the snarl of money, politics, and personal interest that has come to characterize the Clintons' interactions around the world. Clinton Cash is published by HarperCollins, a sister company to Fox News.
Shortly after the earthquake took place, U.S. ambassador in Haiti sent a cable to the State Department, the title of which was "The Gold Rush is On." And the memo was about the fact that businessmen and companies were showing up in Haiti trying to seek lucrative contracts.
It was the job of the IHRC to oversee this process and to ensure no one took advantage of the situation. But what if it was part of the problem?
A number of members of the IHRC actually wrote a letter expressing their concerns that they were not involved in the process, that all the decisions were being made by Clinton and Bellerive. In addition, they claimed and argued that the national priorities of Haiti were basically being totally disregarded by the decisions that were being made.
As Haiti dug itself out of the rubble, many projects were initiated, often with U.S. money and a connection to the Clintons. For instance, there was the Haitian Mobile Money Initiative, where a much-needed system was created to help transfer money via cell phones. There was also a plan to raise money by exploiting Haiti's rich mineral wealth.
The Haitian government announces that they're going to offer 2 so-called gold exploitation permits, the first issued in 50 years in Haiti, that would allow for the extraction and gold mining in the country.
Perhaps the most celebrated project of all was Caracol Industrial Park.
What is happening here in Caracol is already having ripple effects that will create jobs and opportunities far beyond this industrial park.
The grand opening of Caracol was a big deal. You had Bill Clinton there, you had Hillary Clinton there, you had Donna Karan, the fashion designer, you had Ben Stiller, you had Sean Penn. Lots of people showed up to say how wonderful this facility was going to be for everybody.
But as all these projects moved forward, questions were raised. The central question, the question which Schweitzer investigated, was about how so many of these deals seemed to come back at some point to the Clintons.
What quickly became apparent to many people was that if you wanted a contract, if you wanted to do business in Haiti, you had to have relationships with the Clinton. That was absolutely key.
The company that cleaned up on the cell phone transfers was Digicel.
In the 6 months running up to September 2012, they took in more than $50 million in revenue in Haiti.
Digicel is run by Irish billionaire Dennis O'Brien, who set up lucrative speeches for Bill Clinton, as well as donating millions of his own money to the Clinton Foundation. And one company that got a rare gold permit was VCS Mining, which didn't actually have much mining experience, but would soon have Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony Rodham, on its board. As for the Caracol Industrial Park, the anchor tenant is a Korean manufacturer, which supplies to major U.S. retailers, who also happen to be big Clinton supporters. And while the State Department promised 65,000 jobs, to date, only 5,000 have been delivered. As for those other projects, they didn't exactly work out as promised. We'll go into depth on that later in the program. But first, though Bill Clinton may have left office a while ago, he and Hillary's influence is still felt worldwide, and their fingers are in a whole lot of pies. When we return, we look into this world of Clinton clout, how it came to be, and how it operates. To catch us up with the Clinton story, here's Ed Henry.
My fellow citizens, tonight is my last opportunity to speak to you from the Oval Office as your president.
January 2001. Bill Clinton has completed 2 terms as president, but he's got bills to pay.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt. It was not easy. Bill has worked really hard.
Thank you. That he has, traveling around the world, making speeches at up to $750,000 a pop.
Hello!
Hillary Clinton has also made 6-figure sums for her personal appearances.
The Clintons, particularly after Bill left office, have gone from being dead broke to being fabulously wealthy. The estimates are their income in the 12 years following his exit from the presidency up to 2012, they took in something like $136 million.
Peter Schweitzer is the author of Clinton Cash, due out on May 5th.
That came from speaking fees, from book deals, and other sources of income. The bottom line is nobody in American political history has come close to going from being dead broke to being fabulously wealthy in such a short period of time.
When confronted about all of that income in an interview with ABC News' Diane Sawyer, Hillary explained.
I thought making speeches for money was a much better thing than getting connected with any one group or company, as so many people who leave public life do.
But there was also an organization that the Clintons set up with an ambitious global agenda, an entity that would take in far more money than Bill and Hillary's incomes combined.
People walking past this building in the heart of Manhattan probably have no idea who the tenant is on the 17th floor. That's because there's no sign indicating it's the world headquarters of the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation.
He's not president anymore, and she's not president yet. Still, the Clinton Foundation represents a sort of global power center. It was founded in 2001 as the William J. Clinton Presidential Foundation, with the stated mission of marshaling government and private resources to attack global hunger, poverty, climate change, and disease. In other words, basically solving the world's problems.
Together, we can be there for all of our neighbors around the block, around the country, and around the world.
He is enormously proud of it.
Doug Schoen, a Fox News contributor and former advisor to the Clintons, has done work for their foundation.
He can go anywhere in the world and promote causes of social justice in ways that virtually no one else alive can do.
And as it happened, the Clintons' big new project situated them at the nexus of global money, influence, and power.
You have to start with people. You have to give them a chance to live the best life they can.
It's been estimated that over the years, the foundation has raised more than $1 billion.
The concern is that these contributions to the Clinton Foundations or these speaking fees are being provided not simply out of the kindness of the hearts of these individuals, but because they want something from the Clintons. And my contention is there seems to be a pattern of behavior in which they are actually giving those individuals what they want.
Many high-ranking politicians in both parties have set up foundations, but the Clintons are a power couple unlike any the world has ever seen. For not only is Bill an ex-president, already a rare power broker, but in Hillary, they've got someone who was a senator, then a Secretary of State, and who might be president.
The Clinton Foundation, I have some questions on that topic.
Like a lot of folks, I have some concerns
the
about
appearance of a conflict of interest between his work, meaning the foundations, and the duties of Secretary of State.
In such a situation, it makes sense there'd be a fear of influence peddling.
The Obama transition team was concerned about the fact that there had been such a large flow of funds to the Clinton Foundation and also to the Clintons' personal accounts because of the speaking fees. So they wanted to set up a structure of accountability.
This led to a memorandum of understanding, which had explicit requirements for both Clintons.
One was that they were going to disclose all new contributions to the Clinton Foundation and its initiatives. The second was if there were any foreign government funds or foreign government businesses that were going to donate to the Clinton Foundation, that would require prior approval by the State Department. And then a third requirement was that Bill Clinton's speeches and or any consulting arrangements that he might have with outside parties also needed to be vetted by the State Department.
So help me God.
Hillary became Secretary of State, and the Clinton Foundation continued to do its work, but suspicions lingered.
People who were writing these large checks, if they weren't getting access to a former president and a then Secretary of State, what were they getting?
They were getting the ability to participate in large-scale social welfare programs in their home countries or regions of interest or importance to them, to change the world and to be a partner with the President of the United States or the former Secretary of State on life-changing endeavors.
The bottom line is the Clintons have been called lots of things by their friends and enemies over the years. The one phrase that I've never seen associated with the Clintons is the word naive.
When we return, we'll look at what the Clinton Foundation is doing around the world. Charitable work, for sure. But is there something more calculating?
These are all Juicer operations in Colombia.
The dealings of Bill and Hillary are part of what Peter Schweizer calls the Clinton blur, a mix of money and politics, diplomacy and personal interest, all so interconnected that it's easy to get lost.
It's so hard when you look at the Clintons to try to figure out where the charity ends and begins, where their profit-making ends and begins, and where their official powers as Secretary of State or Senator ends and begins. And the problem is they all get blurred together.
To put together his book, Clinton Cash, Schweizer and his team of researchers spent more than a year unraveling the tangled web. Schweizer took us through a number of these cases. For instance, there's money from the Middle East.
The United Arab Emirates wants to have close relationship with the United States. And in 2011, they are under pressure from the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton's State Department because of Iran sanctions. And that is that certain UAE companies are continuing to trade or service transshipment points to Iran.
Okay, so now fast forward a couple of months.
On December 12th, you have the foreign minister of the United Arab Emirates who is flying to Washington, D.C. to meet with the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, over some troubling issues. That very same day, the foreign minister's brother, who's the crown prince, is paying Hillary's husband, Bill Clinton, $500,000 for a speech in Abu Dhabi.
As for comment, the UAE did not put out a formal statement about President Clinton's speech, but they did provide a list of donations they've given to charitable organizations around the world. There's money from Europe.
Beginning in 2009, the Swedish telecom giant Ericsson is coming under increasing pressure in the United States because it's selling telecom equipment to repressive governments around the world. In the midst of all of this, they decide to pay Bill Clinton to give a speech for the first time ever. They pay him a whopping $750,000.
Soon after, Hillary Clinton's State Department urged new, broader sanctions against Iran. But the guidelines did not include telecom, which is Ericsson's business. Ericsson declined our interview request. The company conceded that the investment was significant, $750,000. But they said it should be seen in light of Clinton's crowd pull, the fact that he had to travel to Hong Kong for the event, and that the event spanned 2 days. The company insists that the conversation regarding Iran had no impact on the decision. There's money from South America. In June 2010, Bill Clinton was in Colombia.
Bill Clinton meets with the then president of Colombia, Uribe, to discuss matters in private. What's curious is that Hillary Clinton is in Colombia at the same time. And after Bill leaves the presidential palace, Hillary Clinton comes in and has lunch with the president of Colombia, where she signs some technical agreements and explains her commitment to a free trade agreement between Colombia and the United States.
The very same trade agreement she had pledged to defeat while running for president in 2008.
As I have said for months, I oppose the deal. I have spoken out against the deal. I will vote against the deal, and I will do everything I can to urge the Congress to reject the Colombian free trade deal.
Also in Colombia with Bill Clinton was Frank Giustra, a billionaire businessman and family friend. We'll meet again. Let's go down the timeline as you have it.
Frank Giustra, a Canadian billionaire, arrives in Colombia with Bill Clinton on June 8th, 2010. Hillary, at that same time, meets with President Uribe. What's troubling is in that the days that follow, Frank Giustra, who is one of the largest contributors to the Clinton Foundation, sees not one, not two, but actually 3 of his companies get major concessions from the Uribe government in Colombia.
Neither Giustra nor former President Uribe ever responded to our request for a comment on the Colombia deal. There's money in dealings with Africa.
Sheikh Alamoudi of Saudi Arabia announces with Bill in London that he's committing to contribute $20 million to the Clinton Foundation. This raises lots of questions with Ethiopian groups in the West because they're very concerned about the repressive government in Ethiopia and the fact that Sheikh Alamoudi has a large business empire in Ethiopia. What troubles them is that Alamoudi does not have a history of philanthropy, and they actually write a letter to Bill Clinton, and they say explicitly, we have reason to believe that the huge donation to the Clinton Foundation was made on behalf of the Ethiopian government. When Hillary Clinton becomes Secretary of State, one of the things that she needs to do is certify Ethiopia on human rights, but Hillary Clinton granted them a waiver, which allowed them to continue U.S. assistance even though that they weren't complying with U.S. law.
Mohammed Alamoudi told us he does not give media interviews. Instead, he sent us a fact sheet of all the support he's given to AIDS awareness. These are just a few of the many stories Schweitzer documents in his book.
Bill Clinton's average speaking fee is somewhere around $175,000 to $200,000 over the years. The problem is that once Hillary becomes Secretary of State in 2009, the number of big paydays where he gets paid $500,000 or more to give a speech, one speech, overseas, increases dramatically.
So far, we've seen stories of the Clinton blur, as author Peter Schweitzer puts it, wheeling and dealing that mixes philanthropy, politics, and lots of cold, hard cash. In this process, the Clintons allegedly used their influence to raise funds for both themselves and causes supported by their foundation, all while skirting the rules by doing favors for their benefactors. These favors aren't just shady deals. With the clout of the Clintons, they can have far-reaching effects on the international scene. Consider the stunning case of Kazakhstan and how American uranium ended up in the hands of the Russians. Remember businessman and Clinton friend Frank Giustra? Well, he figures in this story too.
On September 6, 2005, Bill Clinton shows up in Kazakhstan, where Frank Giustra, a Canadian investor, has been trying to get control to buy a couple of uranium mines. And he became really partners in a way with Bill Clinton, working on philanthropic activities.
I came to him with an idea about creating an initiative to alleviate poverty.
Furthermore, Frank Giustra has been involved in helping to facilitate speaking engagements for the Clintons.
Frank Giustra and Bill Clinton were whisked to the presidential palace of President Nazarbayev in Kazakhstan. And it's a fascinating story because everybody walked away from the table that night with something.
The story caught the attention of Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter Joe Becker.
What President Nazarbayev got was this huge propaganda coup. Bill Clinton basically endorsed the progress that Kazakhstan had made in terms of their own democracy, which was sort of interesting given that President Nazarbayev was elected with 90+% of the vote in an election that was widely criticized as being rigged.
Bill Clinton has a public press conference with President Nazarbayev where he praises his rule and praises his human rights record. But the bottom line is, after they leave, a couple of days later, Frank Giustra gets his uranium concessions, which end up being enormously lucrative to him and to a small group of Canadian mining investors.
His company was like a bit player and really had gone from a worthless shell company overnight, got this huge uranium mining deal. And then soon after that, Bill Clinton got a huge donation, $31 million from Frank Giustra to his charitable foundation, followed by a pledge to donate $100 million more.
Our calls to the Kazakhstan embassy were never returned. We talked to Frank Giustra, who told us he considers this an old story and said that he's not interested in politics. Meanwhile, his defenders insist that no undue influence was exerted in Kazakhstan because the deal did not require the Kazakh government's approval.
The problem is there are corporate records that indicate very, very clearly that the Kazakh government did have to sign off and approve. And in fact,
that's what we're looking at here.
That's exactly. This is what we're looking at here, which is the amended Memorandum of Understanding that's dated September 15th, 2005, between the Ministry of Energy of the Republic of Kazakhstan and Kazatomprom, which is the atomic agency in Kazakh government. So there's no way that they can argue the Kazakh government was not a party to these negotiations. They were signatories to this agreement.
And there's a postscript to the Kazakhstan tale.
Kazakh officials wanted to take an equity stake in Westinghouse, which is a U.S. company that works in the civilian nuclear field.
When you have a sensitive industry like Westinghouse is involved in the nuclear industry, that requires review by the U.S. government.
So the potential investors came to America to see the man who could make things happen.
Frank Giustra arranged for Kazatomprom officials to go to Bill Clinton's house in Chappaqua. When I first contacted both the Clinton Foundation, Mr. Clinton's spokesman, and Mr. Giustra, they denied any such meeting ever took place. And then when we told them, well, we'd already talked to the head of Kazatomprom, who not only told us all about the meeting, but actually has a picture of him and Bill at the home in Chappaqua, you know, and that he proudly displayed on his office wall. They then acknowledged that, yes, the meeting had taken place.
So what happened to Justra's company that benefited from that deal in Kazakhstan? After a merger, it became a uranium giant called Uranium One. And then the Russians bought it.
Uranium One became very active in acquiring uranium assets actually in the United States itself. By 2008, 2009, they were a particularly attractive target for the Russian government.
And the Russians acquired that target.
They would acquire what would amount to 50% of projected uranium output by 2015.
In other words, Russia now controls what was projected to be up to half of America's uranium.
Now, does Secretary Clinton factor into this?
For that deal to go through, it needs federal government approval, and one of those people that has to approve that deal is Secretary of State Hillary Clinton,
who, as Senator Clinton, was vigorously opposed to these kind of buys from countries into U.S. property.
That's a great point, Brett. You remember the Dubai Ports deal, for example, which he was opposed to.
We believe that no foreign government should control our ports.
In this particular case, we're talking about uranium. We're talking about things that relate to the nuclear industry. We're talking about the Russian government,
which already provides equipment, material to Iran.
That's correct.
Just how deeply those uranium interests were invested in the Clintons was not disclosed by them or their foundation. Schweitzer learned about that by scouring Canadian tax records.
So let's go to the Fernwood document.
Well, Fernwood Foundation is an entity in Canada controlled by Ian Telfer, who ends up being the chairman of Uranium One, which is the Russian-owned uranium company. Ian Telfer, in 2007, made an individual contribution to the Clinton Foundation. The problem is, based on Canadian tax records, in this particular case, made a payment of $250,000 to the Clinton-Justra Sustainable Growth Initiative. They are required to disclose the donation. They failed to do that. This is a hidden contribution. And over the course of a couple of years, you're talking about more than $2 million from the Fernwood Foundation to the Clinton Foundation. When you actually go to the Clinton Foundation website itself on disclosures and type in Fernwood, you find no contributions listed whatsoever.
Uranium One and Ian Telfer declined to comment. So what this amounts to in the end is a Russian company, essentially controlled by Vladimir Putin, will now be in charge of a substantial portion of American uranium. Russia sends uranium to its client state, Iran. So American uranium could well be sent to the very nation we're negotiating with to try to slow its ability to develop a nuclear weapon. Thus, we see how far-reaching the effect of the Clinton blur, as Schweitzer puts it, can be.
After the break, we return to Haiti and see how relief from the Clinton Foundation has worked out. Earlier, we looked at the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake in Haiti and the various rebuilding projects. But 5 years later, what are the results? Our John Roberts traveled from one end of Haiti to the other to find the answer.
This is the hilltop home of Jean-Max Bellerive. He was Prime Minister of Haiti in 2010 when the devastating earthquake hit. Together with former President Bill Clinton, he headed up the interim Haiti Recovery Commission, which had a very big say in where much of the billions of dollars that was pouring into Haiti would eventually be spent. Bellerive explained to me the importance of having Bill Clinton on the commission.
Jean-Max Bellerive is not going to attract in a permanent way Fox News, CNN, ABC. We needed a figure that will attract the people to keep Haiti on the news.
And was Bill Clinton that image that you needed to sell Haiti?
It's the one we think of at that time, because he was already involved in Haiti. Hillary Clinton was in Haiti, so we need an image. I believe in his role of president of the commission, he did well.
So you said you believe that Bill Clinton did a good job. There sounds like there's a but in there.
No, there is a lot of buts. It's not only one. And not all linked to him. Perhaps we were asking too much of President Clinton, and he has his own agenda also. He had a lot of other things that he was doing. So perhaps we were leaning too much on what he could bring.
Much good work has been done in Haiti, no question. Debris has been removed, houses have been built, and roads have been repaired. But to Peter Schweitzer, for all that help, there are certain projects that need more scrutiny, projects the Clintons got behind.
You would expect that there'd be high standards of transparency, that there would be high standards of accountability, and you would also have ethical standards that would prevent you from giving contracts or concessions or benefits to people who are putting money in your pocket.
For instance, there's the story of Digicel. Almost any place you go, almost anywhere in Haiti, you'll see signs for Digicel, a top telecom company. The reason they have such prominence in Haiti may be that they have friends in high places. After the earthquake, the Clintons pushed for a wireless, phone-based money transfer system, a useful way to allow friends and relatives to send money into the ravaged nation.
The problem is the chief beneficiary from the Clintons' initiative is a company called Digicel that is owned by Dennis O'Brien.
O'Brien is an Irish billionaire who made his money in the telecom industry.
Shortly after the Clintons began reconstruction in Haiti and began handing out contracts, sometime during that period of 2010 or 2011, he made a multi-million-dollar contribution to the Clinton Foundation.
There were also speeches.
Bill Clinton gets paid to give 3 lucrative speeches, which are arranged by Dennis O'Brien.
But the money flowed in both directions.
2 of the speeches that Bill Clinton gives actually are sandwiched around Digicel being given a grant by the taxpayers for $100,000 as part of the HMMI award. At the same time, you have taxpayer money, $2 million, being committed to the Digicel Foundation in Jamaica.
Still, the biggest profit was the tens of millions Digicel made by getting the Haiti deal.
Their profits grew enormously, their market share grew enormously, and it really allowed them to become the biggest player by far in the Haitian mobile phone network.
We requested an interview with Dennis O'Brien, who declined to speak with us. For such a small and impoverished country, Haiti actually has some very valuable mineral deposits. I'm standing on top of what could one day be an open-pit gold and silver mine. Estimates are there could be more than $150 million worth of ore in these hills. It's been 50 years since Haiti gave out any permits for open-pit mines, but when it did, in 2012, guess who got it?
One of them went to a company called VCS Mining, based out of North Carolina, that had very little experience in mining to begin with. This was a potentially very lucrative concession.
So why was this particular company given such a prized concession? Peter Schweitzer thinks he knows, and it has something to do with Hillary Clinton's brother.
Tony Rodham meets the executives from VCS Mining in September of 2012 at a Clinton Global Initiative seminar. 3 months later, the Haitian government grants the gold exploitation permit to VCS Mining. And literally, within the year, Tony Rodham is placed on the board of VCS Mining. Tony Rodham has no background in Haiti, and he has no background in mining. So to me, it begs credulity.
Tony Rodham did not return our phone calls. We did speak to the CEO of VCS Mining, Angelo Viard, who maintains there is no connection between the permit and Rodham's seat on the board. Of all the projects, the one that probably made the biggest splash was Caracol Industrial Park. And in the end, it may have been the biggest disappointment. It's located near Cap Haitian, about 85 miles north of Port-au-Prince, far from the damage caused by the earthquake. According to the State Department, Caracol was designed to create up to 65,000 jobs. In October 2012, Bill and Hillary, along with Haitian heads of state and several celebrities, were there for its launch.
The plan was enormously ambitious. It was to build a textile mill. So U.S. taxpayer money was poured in to build housing and infrastructure in the area. More than $100 million was committed for this effort.
Building up the area meant first kicking out the farmers who'd been there for generations. Their harvests were bulldozed.
Were people
frightened? Were they upset?
Everybody was basically in shock, not understanding what was going on, with their hands in the air and screaming and crying.
Did you talk to them? Did you ask them what they were doing?
There were people with guns, apparently, to force them to leave the area, so they could not really do much to resist.
How many people are worse off since the Caracol Industrial Park was built? We did contact the biggest tenant here, the textile company, but so far they haven't gotten back to us about paying them a visit. I was able to round up a worker at Caracol. I can't identify him, however, because he's afraid of losing his job. He works from 6:45 in the morning till 5 p.m., getting paid 225 gourds a day, which is about $5 US.
The salary is not near what it should be, but because of the lack of jobs availability in this country, he pretty much has to take that.
How would he describe the working conditions?
Conditions are very, very, very tough. Basically, everybody is pretty much frustrated in relations to the workload and what they're getting paid. But again, it's basically take it or leave it type of situation.
He's still hopeful the future will hold more for him, but at present, Caracol is hardly the economic salvation originally promised. Not only don't the jobs pay well, but there are only about 5,000 of them, not anywhere near as many as expected. The State Department says those jobs will materialize eventually, in a decade or so. In the meantime, who is the project helping? Well, a few American companies are benefiting from the cheap Haitian labor.
The three biggest beneficiaries were actually three retailing companies closely tied to the Clintons: Gap, Target, and Walmart.
A lot of money was given to Haiti after the earthquake. Much of it was put to good use. But according to Peter Schweitzer, too much of it was used to line the pockets of people with Clinton connections.
When we return, Hillary is running. Will any of this come back to haunt her? As a presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton offers something new and different. She'd be the first female president. She also offers something that may be too familiar. She's a politician with a long history. The pundits are already asking how her past may affect the future.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president.
One of Hillary's first big decisions as an official candidate for president was to quit the Clinton Foundation. She said she was leaving to, quote, devote myself to this new, all-encompassing endeavor.
There were new questions on Hillary Clinton's campaign as new details emerged.
A few days later, on April 15th, with the Clinton Foundation coming under increased scrutiny, they changed their policy regarding donations from foreign governments. From now on, the foundation would only take contributions from friendly Western governments, like Canada and Germany. Of course, even under these limitations, there could still be donations from someone like Ian Telfer, the Canadian, who, as we mentioned earlier, was chairman of the Russian-owned company Uranium One. But even as Hillary was distancing herself from the foundation, she couldn't avoid questions about its activities. With investigative book Clinton Cash shaping up to be a political bombshell, she responded to a reporter's inquiries while campaigning in New Hampshire on April 20th by brushing aside the book's claims.
Well, we're back into the political season, and therefore we will be subjected to all kinds of distraction and attacks.
And people are going to have to believe that all of this was on the up and up, and that nobody was trying to buy influence, and all of this was fine. Or there's going to be a suspicion hanging over her that is likely to hang over her for the rest of this campaign and into the general election if she gets that far.
People are already questioning Clinton's trustworthiness. In a Fox News poll, 51% said they did not feel she was honest, the only politician on the list to score above 50%. And this was asked before the revelations about the Clinton Foundation were making headlines. Meanwhile, in a speech at Georgetown, Bill Clinton avoided the controversy.
For obvious reasons, I don't intend to talk much about electoral politics.
But even if the Clintons won't say anything substantive, the Clinton camp is preparing for an onslaught.
We're not big on quitting in my family. You may have noticed that.
On April 23rd, Clinton campaign press secretary Brian Fallon offered a specific denial of charges made in a New York Times story about Uranium One, stating, quote, "No one has produced a shred of evidence that Hillary Clinton ever took action as Secretary of State in order to support the interests of donors to the Clinton Foundation." To suggest the State Department, under then-Secretary Clinton, exerted undue influence in the U.S. government's review of the sale of Uranium One is utterly baseless. And legal experts suggest there may even be legal peril facing the Clintons down the road.
She's not protected by the fact that her husband may have taken money, or it's her husband's foundation. Spouses' interests are attributed to each other, and that is no excuse or defense.
But if media response to the book is any indication, this controversy does not seem likely to go away anytime soon.
Too much other media have weighed in with their own reporting on this to make this just go away by saying, oh, it's all a Republican conspiracy. The New York Times is not involved in a Republican conspiracy. The news reporters at the Wall Street Journal are not, and certainly we're not.
The Clintons are certainly no strangers to controversy. Bill wrote out more than a few in his day. But if the charges we've just looked at gain traction, will Hillary be as lucky? Or will people worry that another Clinton administration could mean influence peddling on a scale never before imagined? Either way, the Clintons seem to be aware that this is a question demanding a response. That's our show. Thanks for watching.